Hey guys, Tim Bratz here. Welcome to Spilling the Beans. Today I'm sitting down with my buddy Tim Blodgett, who has a military background and has picked up dozens and dozens of rental properties, kind of in a traditional way, and then started scaling even more. Now he's got a debt fund that he's raising capital for hard money lending. And what I really love about Tim is he's very focused on family, right? He prioritizes that. He prioritizes lifestyle, spending time with his wife, spending time with his kids, and making sure he's a great family man. So we're going to hear about how he scaled his rental portfolio, how he left the military, was able to build a portfolio while he did that, and then scaling it and continuing to grow the business. Let's go sit down with Tim Blodgett. Do it. Tim Blodgett, how you doing, buddy?
Awesome, man.
Welcome to Spill the Beans, dude. It's good to have you in Charleston.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, man. So we've known each other for, a little over a year now, right?
About a year. Yeah.
About a year. And you're obviously a successful real estate investor. What I'd like to do is kind of go through your backstory, hear a little bit about how you became an entrepreneur, how you became a real estate investor, and then I want to hit on some of those differentiating points, kind of like the forks in the road in your career or in your life that sent you in this direction or that direction, and we're big, needle movers, I guess, if you will. So let's hear a little bit about how you became an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I guess so. I grew up in Connecticut. When people hear about growing up in Connecticut, they think, oh, everyone in Connecticut's loaded. But
yeah,
I grew up in a really low to middle class family. Moved 14 different times by the age of 14. Kind of, always on the move.
Was that a military family?
No, not at all.
No.
It was just always moving, always finding different places, living with family members, that type of thing. I started working at a really young age, had a paper route at 12 years old, and I remember I got paid 25 cents a paper, and I'd pay someone 10 cents a paper to go deliver it to try to figure out ways to, maximize my time.
Dude, arbitraging at that age, that's good, man.
Thinking about different ways to get creative. But for me, I grew up, like I said, in Connecticut, always played sports, always was really active. Had every intention of going to play soccer out of high school, but then September 11th happened my senior year. Went into the Marines, which was the best thing that could have happened for me. Met a lot of really great mentors, that got me starting retirement accounts when I was really young, bought my first property when I was 20, and just really fed into their belief in me.
I feel like everybody that I meet in the military, I don't know, the vast majority of the people that I meet in the military, they're pretty financially savvy. Do they take you guys through any sort of money management, wealth management? I think part of it is after 20 years you can retire, right? So a lot of people by 38, they have a pension, right? So that always helps, having some sort of a baseline. But I feel like a lot of them put some money away. They're pretty entrepreneurial. They're starting a business. They buy a couple rental properties or something like that. Is that something that's pretty prevalent or not really?
So I think that there's two different types, right? I think you have the guys, especially now, right? So we're 20 years into people being deployed, right? Since 2002 when the war first started. You've got the guys that make money on deployment, that don't spend it and then come back and blow it on a brand new Camaro, right? Or you have guys that come back and use that money and buy a rental property or put it into some sort of investment so they get some sort of returns. I know for me, I was fortunate enough to deploy 4 different times, and each time that I deployed, I was saving money, put it away, buying a new property.
Who taught you about money?
Honestly, it was just mentors in the Marines. I had 2 specifically that I worked with who had been in for a while. They had invested in properties and really just showed me the importance of it. Had me read certain books and really just set me on a good path, in my opinion.
My dad grew up very low class, right? Didn't have any money at all, and when he had a business and a stable job and had some, could pay all the bills, he paid for all of us to go to college and all these other things. And he always told me, when you don't come from money, you're almost afraid to lose it, right? Is what he said. Do you think there's any part of that from growing up in a lower to middle income?
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember, a lot of my friends, again, growing up in Connecticut, there was that big divide, right? You either had people who had a lot of money and their parents did really well, you had people that didn't, right? And so I know that, of course, I was on that lower end of it. So I've always been a very competitive person. I've always been one that when I go all in and put my mind to something, I'm going to figure it out and do it. Real estate was a vehicle for me where I was going to use that to supplement my retirement at my 20-year mark. Fortunately for me, I got injured during my 4th deployment, which was 10 years in, and I got an early medical retirement from that. So that allowed me to really direct my path more into real estate. I went kind of hot and heavy with it initially, and owned 30 properties by 30, and I was comfortable
awesome,
with that, and had my retirement, and And then I really started following my passion more, soccer and coaching.
How did you acquire, I want to come to the passion, but how did you acquire 30 properties by the time you're 30 years old? I think that's an awesome takeaway for whoever's watching this.
So I think for me, I was not afraid of making mistakes. And I think truly because of the fact that I'm a believer that you only fail at something when you quit on it, right? Like in my opinion, like the very first property I bought was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home in a little town in North Carolina for $18,000, completely gutted down to the studs, had to put a bunch of money into it, but it was a headache, but it was a great opportunity.
But, so this is like, what is this, 2008, 2009?
Yeah, it's around 2009, 2010 time.
So right when the crash happened, and you can go on a buying spree. You got a stable job, you had income coming in, and you had a little bit of wherewithal in order to say, hey, like, what's the worst case scenario on an $18,000 deal? I lose 18 grand, right?
Yeah, but it was a great opportunity for me. I got to learn a lot of the different trades. I had a lot of sweat equity in that property. And then the ones that I bought from there, I'm like, okay, I've got to replace a roof, got to replace an HVAC, got to redo the electrical. Like, that was all something that I was able to do. The first property that I purchased was one for me to live in. And that was back in 2006, which was a community commitment loan from Bank of America. That was like a 40-year fixed rate, but it was in a really good area. Got it at a really good rate, but
you still own it?
No, I ended up selling it, but made good money on it.
Good.
So, but yeah,
that's good, man. And so you get early medical leave from the military. You have 30 properties by the time you're 30 years old, and now you can pursue the passion.
Right.
Let's dive back into that.
So at that point, we lived in an area called Sanford, North Carolina, which is just south of Raleigh. Grew up playing soccer, was fortunate enough to play for the Marine Corps team, the U.S. National 7-a-side team, and it was a great opportunity to travel the world, play a sport. I usually played in the midfield.
Midfield? Offense or defense?
Offense, yeah.
Okay, all right.
The older I got, the more up front and started playing striker, but I still play now in the Veterans Leagues. It's fun, it's competitive, but in that area within Sanford, there was a huge love of soccer. We have a 30% Latino community that loves the game. There just wasn't much structural organization behind it. So looked for an indoor facility for about a year and a half, 2 years, was able to get in, lease a facility, and we've really grown that program over the last 7-8 years.
Is that like a for-profit or a
It's a nonprofit.
Okay.
Nonprofit. We've got about 850 kids in the program.
Wow.
Somewhere between 70 and 80 coaches at any given time. And it's a good thing, man. We see a lot of changes within the community and able to kind of serve, utilizing soccer as a platform to reach a lot of these kids.
Yeah, it's great, man. You guys focus all on sports, or is there kind of like character development stuff too that you guys do?
So we do try to. I try to bring the right coaches in. We've been fortunate enough to get some really good coaches. I think it's important, not necessarily if they know the most about soccer, but they care about the kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's important to put the right people in front of them that genuinely care about them.
But they can be exposed to that as opposed to going home, being ignored or neglected,
Right, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, yeah, character development's a big piece of it, but we offer programs from 3 years old all the way up into a semi-pro level. So yeah,
that's
good.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what does your business look like now that obviously allows you to feed that? You've grown the portfolio beyond 30. How many doors you got?
We've got about 60.
About 60 doors.
Yep.
You own all of those?
All of those.
So you don't have any partners or anything like that?
Nope.
How have you acquired all those properties?
So
acquired and funded, I guess.
So, I look back and, like I said, we had 30 doors before 30, and then I really put my head down for the last 7-8 years and was paying down principal. I think I owed maybe $150,000 on all those doors over time, and then I had a bunch of equity that was built up. Was able to kind of go back, get a portfolio loan, and then purchase another 26 units in an area about 60 miles from us. In the meantime, we purchased some short-term rentals down in the beach area, down in Myrtle Beach, that have been really good return on investments too. But yeah, I had really kind of put my head down for 7-8 years building the nonprofit, and then went back into acquiring mode probably about 3 years ago.
And so when you got back into that mode, like, what led you down the path? Had you ever been like in a mastermind or in groups, like networking groups like we're in now?
Yeah, so again, looking back on it and looking at, the mentors that I had in the Marines, the nonprofit aspect of it and kind of being, the director of that and leading coaches, I found myself in this interesting environment where leadership was lonely at the top, right? Like, there was all these people that needed things from you, all these people that needed you to lead them, needed resources from you, whatever that looked at. And then, I actually saw a video of you walking on the beach before a Commercial Empire event, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And it was a no-brainer. So this was really the first mastermind that I was involved in Legacy Family. So
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
And so looking back, or let's talk about this. How have things changed since joining a community like that?
I mean, I'll be honest. My first event that I went to was in Puerto Rico. Very first event I went to, was able to LP in somebody else's deals, which has, paid for the investment 50 times plus. You know what I mean? More importantly than that, I've been able to meet people that, I look up to. Meet people that are on the same page as me, and partnered with a couple great guys out of Virginia, and that's kind of been our focus over the last 6 to 8 months, is working on this debt fund that we're building.
That's exciting, man. So what's the outlook like? What does the outlook look like over the course of the next 12, 24 months on the debt fund? Like, what do you guys want to accomplish there? And are you acquiring more doors? It doesn't sound like you're buying more property, but you want to build the business side.
Yeah, I mean, we're active. Me personally, I'm still actively looking. Jason and Bill, we're both actively looking as well if the deals happen to come to us. But our main focus is just growing the processes, the procedures within the debt fund. Got a great mentor, Kelly Garrett, helping us out with that. That has really helped solidify our processes. And it's been great so far. Our goal over the next 12 months is to try to get to about a $10 million fund. We've done about 2.5 in loans so far. With investor capital, and then try to get to 15 million by the end of 2024.
I love it, man. Yeah. Super exciting. And so, what would you say is the goal? So that's that goal for that business. What about personally? Do you have any plans? Because you got two kids, right? 12 and 8.
12 and 8, 2 boys.
2 little boys. They play soccer.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah. And what are the plans, kind of, with the family? How is being an entrepreneur, owning your portfolio, being able to own these businesses, how has that kind of elevated the family life?
Yeah, man. So,
or made it tougher, right? Like, because sometimes like in business, you think you got all this great stuff, but yeah, you're always thinking about business, even if you're grilling burgers on the grill, right? Or no matter if everybody's at the pool, you're hanging out at the pool, but you got 16 other things about what you have to do. And so, how is that positively or adversely affected the family life?
Well, I think it's in the short term, even in the long run. I mean, it's definitely positively impacted the family, not just from a financial standpoint, but the opportunity to be able to give back. I'd say probably about 4 to 5 years into running the nonprofit and getting that going, I had this realization of, in a blink of an eye, my kids were in school and they were playing sports, and I'd missed some of their games to go coach other games, and but I had this realization of, my main goal in life is to be a good husband, to be a good father. Those are my 2 top goals, right? Then I put a hard stop on it. I'm home every single day when they get home from school, and I'm with them every single night whenever they go to bed. I don't miss a game if I have to put another coach in place for that. So I put these hard stops on finding balance, so that they can see that.
I think that's critical, man. That whole, we time block for meetings and appointments and Zooms and coffee and all this other stuff, but it's like we don't do that for our own family, right? And to put bookends on, hey, I'm only going to spend time with family at this point. And that I do the exact same thing. Like, I try to make sure that I knock out all the work while the kids are at school, so that way I'm home by the time they get home from school. And there's been, listen, nobody's perfect at it, right? There's a lot of spillover that happens. But I think just the awareness around it and the attempt obviously makes you way better than if you weren't aware or you didn't attempt that.
And I think my wife was a huge part of that. I mean, she is amazing. She's a blessing. Most supportive woman I've ever met in my life. Good decisions, bad decisions, business. So my wife actually she's a teacher at our kids' school that they go to, at the private school that they go to. So it's a great opportunity for her to be with the kids every single day. I mean, she had to tell me without so many words of, you need to find balance, right? So she's been a big part of that support system, and
that's awesome, man. Yep. That's great. Well, dude, it's been an honor, having you in the mastermind for the past year, getting to know you a little bit better, and I know we're going to start doing some deals together and hanging out together, probably taking the family vacations together, and I'm excited to see where it goes over the next 36, 60, 10 years, whatever this ends up looking like. So
I appreciate you, man, and everything you do for everyone else.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep.
Hey, I hope you got a ton of takeaways from that. I'd love to see your takeaways actually in the comments section. Give me a like, subscribe to our channel, share this with somebody who's going to get a lot of value out of it. It always helps us out. It's why we do what we do, to try to give as much value to you as humanly possible. And if you could do those things, it would mean a lot to us. So appreciate you. I'll see you next week on Spilling the Beans. Until then, be your best.